This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Hold on to your butts.
I love it, baby. Woo! Nine to noon. And that's a fact.
All righty now. A happy Friday to you, and a happy Friday football feast! 9 to noon style, and I'm Paul Allen from the Minnesota Vikings practice facility, known as Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, specifically the Posh and Tony TCO radio studio as part of the vast and ever-expanding and super well-respected Vikings Entertainment Network. Eric Nordquist, the producer of 9 to Noon, he's at the 651 Carpets Plus Studios, housing FM 100.3 KFAN. He'll be joined there by Alec Lewis, who covers the Minnesota Vikings for The Athletic and theathletic.com at about 10 o'clock. And we have a football game tomorrow, preseason game number 1. The Houston Texans are at US Bank Stadium. 1 o'clock for the pregame on KFAN, and 3 o'clock for the preseason. Boom. Nordo, we have a football game tomorrow. It's a preseason game, but those in attendance, those watching on Fox 9, and those listening on KFAN, they will get a truncated glimpse at old J.J. McCarthy. So, in a roundabout way, and in preseason style, it's football time. It's football season, and a new distraction has entered the covenant. Mr. Nordquist, are you excited?
Are you kidding me, man? I can't wait for tomorrow's game. And I was even trying to prep myself up. I didn't watch much of the HOF affair, but last night in a preseason game in Philly, I'm watching Jamar Chase in an exhibition, taken out from Joe Burrow.
What?
In an exhibition. And I'm watching him outrun Chase outrunning Keely Ringo to the end zone in a freaking preseason game. I think the preferred big timers of the Bengals played like the entire first quarter last night. I didn't watch a ton of it, but that kind of stuff gets me excited for the season. I'm watching Daniel Jones because Anthony Richardson dislocated his pinky. I'm watching Harbaugh's 55 running backs he has on the roster grind it out 3 yards and a cloud of dust. And then I got let down a little bit last night. I was looking for Darnold, and I may have had to settle for Drew Lock. But
Pete Carroll going against his former team.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about axes to grind, right? In an opening preseason game, and the fawning and the waving for the 12s that may have been in attendance last night in that one. But yeah, watching those games kind of got me moving forward now. And when Alec joins and we do Vikes Bites, I'm absolutely going to pepper you guys in terms of what are we watching tomorrow night? What are we going to see from this guy, et cetera. So there's going to be plenty of time during the feast, but that is kind of what is lending to my excitement, is seeing these games, even though they definitely don't count for wins and losses, but they count big in terms of how we view this final 53, and just getting to see some of these guys, not in Egan, not against Flores' defense, in particular with the offense, but against this Texans crew. And just, if this offense is going to roll, I want to see some fun things tomorrow afternoon, already dream weaving into my head as we speak. I'll be here doing, brace yourself for this, preseason fan line. Ron Johnson and I tomorrow following the affair. And we'll get to talk about J.J. McCarthy's debut. But yes, as you can tell, overstimulated at 9:04 in the morning. for a preseason game tomorrow afternoon. I'm very pumped for it.
And, of course, I'll be listening to Vikings Fan Line as I depart U.S. Bank Stadium after the game call tomorrow. And I look forward to one of my very favorite people in the world, Ron Johnson, one of the 2 or 3 best receivers in the history of University of Minnesota football. Speaking of that, by the way, the Daniel Jackson's on the Texans. So I completed my card preparation Texans stuff this morning, and I had forgotten Daniel Jackson, that nice receiver for PJ Fleck, was on the Houston Texans. And also what surprised me a little bit, maybe it shouldn't have, because I didn't, really follow him that closely, but he was undrafted. And he had a pretty nice run at the University of Minnesota, and old Daniel Jackson we'll get him into the chat tomorrow, Mr. Nordquist, but he went undrafted.
Yeah, we're going to be, you got to jump. Your depth chart bits for preseason games have to be absolutely a freaking mile long, because we know there is no Will, as in Will Anderson, so there must be a way for the QB. 55, formerly 99, our guy Daniil's probably not going to play. So you're trying to figure out, how do I pronounce Tommy Togiai? How do I pronounce, Dylan Horton's easy. But we got Junior Tafuna. Watch out for this cat, the undrafted kid for the Texans, fat guy in the middle style. Sheldon Rankin's probably not going to play. Old people get rest. So you're going to be digging deep, and there's no doubt about it. I can't wait for some sort of super obscure and unique deep dive nugget that you have on a player no one's heard of and may not even make the team, but that's the kind of time you put into it.
Yeah, I have one for you. Let's start here with Texans tight end Luke Lachey. He is a 7th-round rookie from Iowa, and he will play abundantly tomorrow, is at least what the early intel is. Luke Lachey, his father, Jim, played 131 games in the National Football League as an offensive lineman. And Luke Lachey's brother-in-law, ready for this?
Yeah.
Remember Offensive Lineman of the Day many years ago?
I do, yes.
Luke Lachey's brother-in-law is Pat Elflein. Hey!
Above average.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's a deep dive nug right there.
Oh, my goodness. So we got Daniel Jackson. We're going to have Ariante Ursary maybe getting reps on the right side early on preseason for him. I'm pretty sure they may also have. Now, Luke Lachey, he's fighting for his life, 7th-round draft pick rookie. What about Irv Smith Jr., who I believe is on the roster as well? Now, I don't know if he's going to get reps tomorrow, but the connections, the Minnesota connections in particular, are extensive, my boy.
Irv Smith Jr., 6-year from Alabama, 2nd-round pick by the Vikings in 2019. How many receiving touchdowns do you think he had in his 4 years with the Minnesota Vikings?
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to, and this isn't about being negative on Irv. It just didn't work out here. I'm going to go super low, and I'm going to say 2.
9.
Oh, see, I underrated Irv. I
mean, still, that's just 2 and a piece, and he was a 2nd-round pick. What else do we have here for you? They got a running back, a 4th-round rookie from USC named Woody Marks. He's been the rave of Texans training camp. And, there's just this, the farther along we get post transfer portal and NIL and stuff like that, there's just a lot of Woody Marks in 57 games at Mississippi State and USC. He averaged 27 receiving yards per game. Then you get to, there are just so many players where it's in X amount of games at this college, then Georgia State, and then Auburn, and stuff like that. Daniel Jackson, undrafted rookie from Minnesota, 280 catches at Minnesota. That's a 3rd in school history. He had 7 100-yard games, and that's 7th most in school history. And Daniel Jackson went undrafted, which was a little intriguing to me. If I bring up a veteran receiver for the Houston Texans and I ask you to identify or just quick twitch, the most identifiable moment this individual has for you,
okay,
I'm going to lay the over-under at 1.5 seconds.
Okay.
Maybe 2.5 seconds, and you'll be able to come up with him. All right?
Yes.
He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. He won 2 with Kansas City and 1 with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ooh.
He's in his 8th year from Penn, 1st year with Houston, and his name is
Is that Justin
Watson?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the moment?
Oh, what's the moment? Is the moment. Why am
US
I?
Bank Stadium?
Oh, come on. Yes, it was the catch over the head of Cam Bynum. Is that accurate?
Come on, Cam.
Yeah.
Come on, Cam. Just a little more on the vertical, brother.
Oh, and it looked like Cam, from a timing standpoint, it looked like he jumped as soon as the ball was thrown. So he could have jumped 2 or 3 more times before Watson came down with that thing. Yeah, that was part of the weird year a couple years ago. I think it was like week 5. Is that maybe where Justin Jefferson, he got his hammy tweaked up in that game and may have lost a bunch of games after that. We had the Josh Oliver opening possession fumble. I think that was Chiefs like week 5 or 6 at US Bank Stadium. And
Cam quick twitch is good.
Oh, and Cam Bynum did not provide his best moment in that spot when his best was indeed required. Sorry, Coach.
Now, when the Texans came to town last year and they got thrashed by the Minnesota Vikings, Will Reichard in that game, by the way, hit his career-long field goal of 58 yards. It was a metallurgy make in that it went off the upright. But Nico Collins, their best receiver, won't play tomorrow. I'd be surprised if Christian Kirk, who was traded from Jacksonville to Houston, I'd be surprised if he played, but he might play. And that's also interesting. I mean, I know the Vikings have traded with Green Bay in the draft and Detroit and stuff like that. T.J. Hawkinson and Kwesi's first round draft pick in the 2022 draft. Was a trade with the Detroit Lions. So trading within the division, I mean, it's not a never happen scenario, but Jacksonville traded Christian Kirk to Houston. So with Collins and Christian Kirk, and then they got this thing, man. It's these Iowa State rookies. And I haven't watched Iowa State football since Sage Rosenfels was getting up and down the field. So Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll. All right.
Yeah.
Knoll. I got props to Jalen Knoll. All right. He played all 4 years at Iowa State. So again, you got my man over here going from Georgia State to Auburn. Another guy, Oregon State, 4 years, then like 1 year somewhere else. They're just jumping all over the place trying to find their best lot in life to get to the NFL. But Jalen Knoll played all 4 years at Iowa State. Last year, 80 catches, 1,194 yards, and 8 touchdowns. His running mate, I thought this was interesting, Jaden Higgins. In 2024 for Iowa State, for your beloved Cyclones, Higgins and Knoll became the first Big 12 duo with at least 1,000 receiving yards each since 2018 and CeeDee Lamb and Hollywood Brown. So that CeeDee Lamb and Hollywood Brown super fast. So
yeah,
they with Knoll and Higgins and Kirk and Nico Collins, and then you mix in like this Braxton Berrios, 8th year from Miami.
He's been all over the place.
Right. He's been with the Jets. He's unrestricted from the Miami Dolphins. 10 career touchdowns, 4 have come rushing. He's a trick in the equation. So they, I kind of like what they've done with their wide receivers. It's not expected for C.J. Stroud to play tomorrow, but nevertheless with C.J., what a big season this is for C.J. Stroud. Not big in like, hey, if things don't work out, we're going to cut you, man, and go with Keaton Slovis. But in his rookie year was fantastic. When he was at US Bank Stadium last year, he went for 215, a touchdown, 2 picks. He got sacked 4 times. But his 2024 regression, it's palpable, at least to me, because he played 2 more games last year than he did in his rookie year, yet he had 400 fewer passing yards, 3 fewer touchdowns, 7 more interceptions, and he was sacked 15 more times. So we kind of noticed it with that shiny toy that came to US Bank Stadium early in the season that, this is a shiny toy here. They got a lot of speed and they got a lot of glitz and glamour and pomp and circumstance, but it just didn't really bite with me into the game or out of the game. But 3rd year from Ohio State, 2nd overall pick in 2023 behind beloved Bryce. That 24 regression, it was kind of real for C.J. Stroud. So third year for CJ. I like him a lot. He seems to be a wonderful, wonderful guy, and he can play the game pretty well, too. Again, I don't believe he'll play tomorrow, but kind of a big season here for old CJ Stroud.
Well, and I think we're going to get to see, I personally, I mean, whether it was the offensive line that they had significant issues or it felt like they did a year ago. And Mixon, Joe Mixon came in. That was something they didn't have 2 years ago. They bring Joe Mixon in. I thought for the most part he stabilized things, but Dameon Pierce, Charch's favorite guy, has offered them nothing, which is why I'm kind of excited to see this Woody Marks. He ran up like $150 against the Gophers last year, still in college ball with USC.
Wow.
But I think for better or worse, he just needs the same receivers out there every week. If you've seen the injuries sustained to Tank Dell the last couple of years, you think about, you bring in Diggsy, and Diggsy tears up his ACL. Even Nico, we talked about it, whether it was a hamstring, I forget exactly what it was, but he missed significant time a year ago. They need these. I mean, the Cyclones, these cats are like basically Iowa's version of Tyler Johnson and Rashad Bateman, right?
Right.
I mean, just the absolute, I think they combined for 17 receiving touchdowns a year ago at Iowa State. So they made all the plays. They got all the love. They got drafted to the same team. And now, in some ways, it's like, can CJ just get consistent guys out on the field that he can work with? Dalton Schultz, not bad for a tight end. But yes, I think it's a massive season for him. Not as you said, it's not as if he has a tough season. He's kicked out of the league. There's no issues there. But in terms of him returning to some of that form or returning to the growth arc as part of his career, I think is an A topic for him. So, Cam Robinson, okay, we're going to need you, Cam. If you're a Texans fan, we're going to need early Vikings Cam Robinson versus late Vikings Cam Robinson.
And Ed Ingram.
And how about Eddie Ingram? Titus Howard, okay?
Yeah, we'll see both those guys tomorrow, by the way.
Objects in your mirror, Titus Howard, okay? You might get the lion's share of reps early, but Ed's coming for you.
Yeah.
Ed's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, Cam, I mean, if Cam's playing in the second quarter, or Ed's playing in the second quarter, they might get, the twos or the threes for B-Flow's defense. So it'd be like, man. Ed might look at I don't know, Jalen Redmond and be, I'm here to destroy you. And Jalen's going to be like I care, man. Come on. Have you seen the depth on this team, bro? I don't care about that. You can go and try to destroy me all you want. I'm just going to try to run around you. All right. I got, another nug for you. The Texans have a Florida rookie who plays quarterback named Graham Mertz. And he tore his ACL in October of last year while playing for the Gators. Now, in 16 starts at Florida and 34 at Wisconsin, my man threw for 9,099 yards and 64 TDs. Damn. But here's the nug, and it has a local tie because we are provincially strong within the 9 to noon Minnesota Love Covenant. Graham Mertz's father was a guard at the University of Minnesota from 1989 to 1992 and is a Burnsville native. So Ron Mertz is a Burnsville native, and his kid Graham Mertz, the 6th round rookie quarterback from Florida, he'll be coming to Minnesota tomorrow. We expect him to play. Alec, when he gets when he joins at 10 o'clock, we'll start with Vikes Bites, but then when we start going really hardcore on some of the Vikings minutia, I'm not going to say he's down on Jalen Naylor, fourth-year wide receiver, Michigan State, who, by the way, in the preseason last year, Kevin O'Connell made him the featured receiver. So I mean, they targeted him a lot of times and really tried to get him going. So for Jalen last year, he had 7 starts and played every single game. And he scored touchdowns in the first 3 games of the season. So the 7 starts, that was a career high, 331 and a touchdown against the Texans last year. So I'm not speaking for Alec. We'll let him frame it up, however he wants. And he does watch more practice and attends, more press conferences and stuff like that than I do. But he is quasi down on Jalen Naylor, at least as he put in his Tolstoy he sent me last night, maybe sent me or us last night. And I'm curious to see how he frames that up because, with Addison being suspended the first 3 games, I think Rondale Moore's still very much a wild card with this team as to how much he's going to play. Ty Felton, he's a rookie, 3rd round rookie from Maryland. There's a big opportunity there for Ty Felton to kind of jump up and grab some playing time. And I guess I'd forgotten this. Everybody in the world knows this except for me until I got this done this morning. But Ty Felton in 2024, he led the Big Ten in receptions and receiving yards. Who knew?
Yeah,
Ty
he
Felton
was a force.
Damn, man, he was a big-time force.
But he plays into the way, because watching it through camp, there's a little bit of beauty in the eye of the moments that hit you versus the fleeting moments of reps in camp. There are those, speaking of Jordan Addison, for instance, everything that I've seen out of Jordan Addison, I love the connection. Without Jefferson on the field, I love the connection that I'm seeing Addison create and have and flourish with J.J. McCarthy. Well, on the other end of it, into the Monday night practice and just people that I get the chance to talk to, I'm hearing, well, he's dropping a lot of balls. I mean, I'd like to see Addison a little more keyed in, maybe mentally during camp. So I'm thinking everything that I've seen out of Addison is so good. And then there are others that maybe look differently. And I think that's kind of what might be happening with Naylor as well, because I've seen, other than the Addison side, and again, this is in the absence of number 18, which means really everything in terms of even how we're framing up this conversation, but big opportunity for Naylor. I've seen Naylor dropping a ton of passes, and other people are saying, I think Naylor's looked terrific. I think it's hand in glove, the chemistry that's being created with the kid QB and with the suspension looming for Addison. I think it could just be pass the baton, and you're going to see Naylor lift off in those opening 3 games in the same way that you were mentioning. We saw him in the opening weeks last year, where the uncovered bit, he had the touchdown in the Giants game, plays extra reps because Addison misses the Niners game, I think week 2, and he had 3 consecutive games with the TD. So it's almost like there's this beauty in the eye of, I've been higher on Addison than some. It sounds like I'm lower on Naylor than some. I don't know what to say, man. I mean, it's just trying to weed through this offense getting dominated by the defense. Maybe I'm not seeing it clearly.
Mouse wants us to make this the Steve's Appliances marathon segment, but we're going to save that for one of the segments with Alec, because Steve's Appliances is sponsoring part of the Friday Football Feast when we get to Buffalo Wild Wings September 5th. At Buffalo Wild Wings Oakdale for the Friday Football Feast BWW run. And Alec Lewis's inclusion 9 to noon, not only at the Friday Football Feast, but period, is courtesy of Steve's Appliances and stevesappliances.com. So we'll love them up a different way near the end of the radio show. And we're going to get into NFC North Wildcards here momentarily. But, now myself, but both of us will we'll just throw away, we'll have a throwaway name, when we're rattling off things about certain players and scenarios. And one of the names that's come up a lot with me has been Silas Bolden. It's like, going against B-Flow's defense with the Gink is on fire over there, and Grenard and Cashman and Ivan Pace Jr. and Javon Hargrave in the middle, all the way back to the Hitman. Well, without Jefferson and to a certain extent without Hawkinson, Silas Bolden putting double moves on Byron Murphy Jr. is probably not the same as Justin Jefferson. So we've said the name Silas Bolden a lot. Yeah. He's a college free agent from Texas. He wears 83. He's one of those bits where he spent 4 years at Oregon State and won with Texas. Now with Silas, he in his collegiate career, 15 touchdowns offensively, 10 receiving and 5 rushing. But here, and I went back and watched one of these, man. He's naturally gifted returning punts. Okay. And this is the land of 10,000 opportunities to win a punt returning job. So this has some wild card to it. I'm not kidding you. Rondale Moore, he has 22 punt returns in his career with Arizona. He's unrestricted from Atlanta, but got hurt last year. But in his first 3 with Arizona, Rondale Moore, he's a veteran, okay? So, teams, when they get to cut downs, they have a tendency to sway the way of veterans from a trustability standpoint, especially when you're a second rounder in 2021 like number 4 Rondale Moore. 22 punt returns with the Birds, 8.5 yards per average. Now, granted, it's at the amateur level. But Silas Bolden had 30 punt returns at Texas, averaging 10.5 per, and he had a 75-yard punt return touchdown. He also had a punt return touchdown for Oregon State. So I watched one of those back, He's naturally, he might be the most naturally gifted guy returning punts of all the 90 on this roster, and I'm not kidding you.
Wow. And you know, the key to that, and you're basically stealing all my Vikes bites, but I do want Alex's opinion, and we'll talk about the wide receiver room at large. But Rondale Moore needs to find a freaking role on this team, man. I mean, I mentioned to you after the night practice, just there's something, you know, it's that snap, it's that shiftiness. I haven't seen it yet. Am I judging it based on a guy still trying to mentally wrap his head around what he needs to do, where he needs to be, or is there a physical aspect of it? Whatever it is, it needs to improve by the time week one steps in. But the punt return spot, special teams in general, whether you're a Kobe King type trying to make a team or you're on the return side, a Silas Bolden or a Rondale Moore, it's massive. And maybe that is a true wild card. But Rondale Moore in the unofficial / subject to change and right to change it for the next month depth chart situation, he's the guy potentially that's going to get that first chance. And maybe that's lending that veteran favoritism that you might be talking about in terms of, if all things are equal, the guy that's done it before is going to get a chance. Moore needs to seize that starting tomorrow because I've been watching a lot of the special teams as well. I think Bolden, at least at this stage, since we haven't had a punt return TD since Sherrill's in like 2016 against the Texans, by the way, since we haven't had that happen in so long, I'm starting to get you to this point. Just don't muff it. Just make it look like a professional operation. I think we can probably strive for more. I think Silas Bolden looks comfortable back there. I dig that. I saw a bit of Ty Felton. It was fine. But Moore is going to have the first crack at snagging this thing, and he better damn well do it tomorrow. I think that matters in terms of his time spent in purple.
In closing for the opening segment, I actually have an A topic, and and I'm being serious here. Now, I mean, this is we joke around pretty much about everything later. We're bit raised at KFAN, but this, this is something I've had to think about during the course of the last week and change because, like the ref tomorrow is going to be Brad Allen. Well, Brad was here yesterday, and you're just going over a bunch of rules and things like that, but in calling the game tomorrow with Ben and Pete, and Tatum will be on the sideline doing interviews and offering nuggets and stuff like that. Tatum Everett, Vikings Entertainment Network. There's this virtual measurement. Are you familiar with it?
Oh, in terms of the
TV,
ball placement and fourth and short type stuff, we're going to have. Well, I'm going to let you just explain it because I have this vision in my head of what it might be.
Here's the A topic is, I mean, with all due respect, and I certainly am not going to say this on Fox 9 and KFAN tomorrow during the game. These things are picked up by NFL Network and they're replayed a million times during the week, but whatever. I mean, okay, cool, whatever. It's the measurement part is when it comes to a first down and the virtual measurement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not as much a measurement guy as I am a ball placement guy. So it's if you're trying to tighten things when it comes to the conclusive nature of is it a first down or is it not, the ball placement by the referee or by the official, well, that if you think there's a problem, that's generally the problem, is that the ball placement isn't the greatest in the world. So I got to get squared away with this virtual measurement. You know anything about it?
No, I don't know a ton. From what I did watch, it struck me if you've ever watched like a tennis match and you have that virtual where it shows and then the ball hits, it says it's in or it's an out, and then you kind of move on. So it kind of negates the need, some L walking over to a camera. It takes 2 minutes and it's just, it's a waste of time. But in this particular case, I'm actually 100% with you where the issue I have is not any pause with the chain gang coming out and then, who was it, Sterator with the note card or something like that. I mean, those little moments, just human error and all of that included. The human error part really drives down to the placement. It really drives down to where the ball physically was placed by the ref. And how many times have all of us gone, kind of screwed him out of a yard there? Oh, that was a little home cooking there with the placement on the ball. That is the crux of the issue, not if they're saving time. Now, if they're saying that is part of this, I mean, is there any, I got to get squared away on it too, and understanding is there any aspect of this process that actually helps where the ball is placed? There are moments where it's the tush push style scrums and things that occur where, I mean, good luck trying to find that freaking thing, which is why you've heard about microchips and other ideas and such. I still find the lack of equity in NFL games in terms of even having those sideline pylon cameras from a broadcast standpoint, that all is kind of frustrating. But yeah, the placement for me is really the crux of the issue, not how they ultimately decide whether it's gone over the line. So I guess it's cool. They're adding technology to the bit, which is fine. But the issue for me would be actually where that ball is sitting when they measure it.
Thank you. That's Eric Nordquist, and I'm Paul Allen. This is the Friday Football Feast. I'm at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center to take care of some Texans, Vikings preseason-related work today, beginning right after the radio show. Nordo is at the 651 Carpets Plus studios at FM 100.3 KFAN. And we thank TimberTech and TimberTech.com for set list sponsorship each and every weekday 9 to noon. And that set list includes NFC North Wildcards. These are players and or scenarios. Could be players, coaches, or scenarios, and we will unfurl that around the corner. Thank you very much for listening to FM 100.3 KFAN, your audio home for everything that matters in the sporting world in the state of Minnesota. We thank you very much for listening, and we got some wild card scenarios for you around the corner when we return.
9 to noon.
Welcome back. You know how occasionally 9 to noon will offer up talkbacks and make them dealer's choice, in that you shuffle the deck and play the talker card of your choice. Well, this isn't that. But what this is involves a symbolic deck of cards filled with aces like this guy.
1st and 10 from the Seattle 39. 3:58 to go. Seattle leads by 4 in the fourth quarter. Sam steps up. Sam throws left. Caught. Jefferson. Touchdown! Yes! Sam, the man on the fan, finds the moneymaker Justin Jefferson. And the Vikings have taken a 26-24 lead.
A symbolic deck of cards filled with aces like Justin Jefferson and kings like this guy.
Carter got through, couldn't get all the way to him. Altmaier gets dropped.
And watch Kobe King just kind of read the quarterback and follow him, and then puts the stick on him. Altmaier thought he might get the fake and get the linebacker out of position, and Kobe King did not bite the fake.
And also, there are jacks.
12:15 to go, clock moving. Mayfield, toss right. That is Irving who cuts it up, and he is met and taken down. Jack Campbell. Boy, that's a nice play in there by that linebacker. Loss of 1, measured him up, took him down. It'll be 2nd and 11.
And with this symbolic deck of cards, we have aces like Jefferson and kings like Kobe and jacks like Campbell. But occasionally, the deuce is loose.
1st and 10, Chicago from its own 43. Caleb Williams out of the shotgun, protected okay, throws over the middle, caught DJ Moore at the 31-yard line. Clock's down to 13, 12, 11, 10. All the Bears run to the line of scrimmage. With 8 seconds to go, Caleb Williams is going to settle for what he hopes is a game-tying field goal, and he kills the clock.
But what about the wild cards, the metaphorical jokers in the crowd? Wild cards like Zach Bond in the Super Bowl for the Eagles, all right? 4-year special teamer with the Saints, nabbed a 1-year, $3.5 million deal with the champion Birds. They empowered him, and he led the team in tackles during the season. Then in the playoffs, this wild card, all he did was change games. Picked off Jordan Love, recovered a key fumble in the division round win against the Rams. Then in the NFC title game, he forced a fumble and recovered another. What about the wild card performance in the Super Bowl blowout of the Chiefs? Zach Bond, the wild card in the symbolic deck. In the Super Bowl, he led the Eagles in tackles and had a game-changing pick from the arm of Patrick Mahomes right before halftime. This wild card in the Eagles deck led to a royalty flush, and the Eagles hoisted the Lombardi. Sometimes to party with the Lombardi, the wild cards in the deck play as key a role as the aces and kings. 9 to noon has assembled a set of wild card players and scenarios that bear following, starting week 1 of the regular season, and here they are. We'll go bottom to top from where they finished last year, which means we're going to begin with the Chicago Bears. The wild card scenario for them, per me, is will beloved BJ's tricks lead to treats? The stumble bomb, jet sweeps using right tackle Penei Sewell, touchdown passes from receivers to the quarterback. Ben Johnson pines to pull rabbits from hats. Sometimes he's not a head coach. He's Houdini. He runs an offensive shell game, and he's quite used to opposing defenses picking the wrong shell. And he gets to flex by dousing faces with water from the fake flower on the lapel of his coat. Can he do all that with the bottom-feeding Bears? Ben loves the play action. And the quarterback, Caleb Williams, hasn't been big on the under center trick, which leads to high-end play action plays. For instance, last season, Bears play callers used play action only 17.5% of Caleb Williams snaps. That ranked 41st out of 44 quarterbacks. Johnson called it twice as often in Detroit. Goff used play action on 35.5 of his dropbacks, ranking 2nd of 44 quarterbacks. Beloved Ben desperately wants Caleb to play more under center because his offense and his tricks that lead to chunky treats is predicated on something either Bears coaches forgot to utilize or Caleb Williams is uncomfortable under center and just not very good at the play action game. Whew. This is a major, major wild card for the Chicago Bears. What do you have up your sleeve, Mr. Houdini?
Well, the wild card for me might help them and Ben Johnson do more play action. That's simply enough. Just running the ball, PA. I want to know in 2025 just how stubborn Ben Johnson will be, because I think he needs to be stubborn with getting that ball across the line on the ground. He had an offense last year with the 3rd most attempts in Detroit and 29 rushing touchdowns, which was 2nd in the NFL. And he's taking over a team that from last year, he went from 4.7 yards with Gibbs and Montgomery to 4 yards a carry with Mr. Swift in Chicago. So DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson. This is a team. Caleb was the 2nd rusher on this squad, by the way, with nearly 500 yards on the ground. Johnson just 55 total carries. I think this plays into everything they want to do, whether it's Caleb's hesitance, apprehension, ineffectiveness from operating under center, their inability, unwillingness, and maybe at some point just abandoning the idea of play action. And it's not a completely dissimilar conversation from how we look at things in Minnesota. The effectiveness, making an opponent actually respect your run game can open so much of the playbook. So whether we're trying to raise JJ here in Minnesota or Ben Johnson tearing Caleb Williams down to the studs and trying to rebuild him from scratch, running the ball is an absolute A topic for them, but it's also a wild card in respect to for a team that I had running up to maybe 8-9 wins potentially in 2025. that means that everything has to be better on the offensive line. Everything has to be better with the combination of backs. And if it's not Roschon Johnson, is it that rookie Monangai? Is it Travis Homer? Whoever the hell it is, Ben Johnson's stubbornness to replicate what he was able to accomplish in Detroit is a huge wild card for how this offense looks, for how the team performs, and maybe the run game plays exactly into what you're talking about, those tricks, and maybe in particular that play action.
The wild card scenarios for the Green Bay Packers are quite interesting. Mine involves the second-year defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley. And what we're doing with these wild cards in the symbolic deck is we're going from bottom to top last year. So we start with the Bears, then we get to Green Bay, Minnesota after that, then the Motor City Kitties. And when we return, I will go down the road of second-year defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, and that defense being a wild card major key for all that is green and gold this year. Nordo also has one for Green Bay, and we will unpack that when 9 to noon continues. It's the Friday football feast, a day before preseason game number 1. The Texans are in town 3 o'clock tomorrow on KFAN at U.S. Bank Stadium. Back after this. Wild card players and or scenarios for the Green Bay Packers include, in my estimation, second-year defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. Seeing Rashawn Gary put his hand in the grass as a defensive end last year was weird. I mean, edge rusher Preston Smith hated the approach so much he begged for a trade and was sent to Pittsburgh. The three best offenses Green Bay played last year were Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Detroit. They played those teams 6 times and allowed 172 points, or 28.5 points per game. Sure, they shut out New Orleans for show, but were gouged when playing for the dough. Also, they went 0-6 in those games against those high-end offenses, Philadelphia, Detroit, and Minnesota, and it absolutely played into their not only lot in life, but their demise. So when Matty LaFleur shuffles the 2025 metaphorical deck and pulls out that wild card, he pulls out that joker, that wild card needs to be a better defense against the best offenses in the NFL. I mean, you can shut out New Orleans for a show, but they shut out New Orleans and had really big defensive performances against Tennessee for dough. When you play the highest of the high end, it has to be better. And I think Packer fans know that. That's my wild card for green and gold. What about you?
Yeah, I dig that. I'm sticking on the defensive side of the ball as well. As Vikings fans, we can relate to this. We feasted on 33 turnovers created by the Vikings defense a year ago. And I think a wild card for this Packers team as part of that defensive unit is the turnovers that they feasted on, and can they actually rely on those here in 2025? If you remember, we were all trying to keep count, and Xavier McKinney, new pickup a year ago, goes out there. I think he had an interception in the first 5 games of the season. The Packers defense in totality, 17 turnovers created by that defense in the first 6 games of the season. Then they got a little dry, and then they had 12 more turnovers created by the defense in the final 7 games of the regular season. They gave it away 4 times, couldn't pick off Jalen Hurts, couldn't turn the ball over in that game against the Eagles, and their season was over. But feasting on those, the things that you can rely on, relying on Rashawn Gary, as you were mentioning, relying on stout situations, being good on third down, creating identities within that defense, that's one thing. But relying on turnovers can still be about making the play, right place, right time, and factors that can't necessarily be always replicated or consistent. I think a huge wild card, in addition to Hafley's second year as defensive coordinator and making that thing cook, is the wild card of the playmaking, the ball hawking, and the creating of turnovers. It was awesome a year ago. Probably needs to be awesome again for them to have the expectations that they do in Green Bay.
Fairly stated. So we've handled 4 and 3 from last year. The runners up in the NFC North, as the fan has learned, were the Minnesota Vikings. And a wild card in this symbolic deck full of aces like Justin Jefferson and kings like Kobe and jacks like Campbell and deuces like DJ Moore. It's Dallas Turner for me. He's 22 years of age, runs like the wind, and hits like a Mack truck. The former first-round pick is so physically gifted that I absolutely cannot believe Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores wants the linebacker playing fewer than 20 plays a game. So how does one implement this wild card into the game? I have no idea. What do I look like? Plank calling the Bears 46 defense back in 1985? But for sure, Turner's going to be all over the place. He'll spell Grenard and Van Ginkel and might even mug the A-gap like a New Age bar in Kendricks. His physical ability is wildly gifted. And this could be the Zach Bond card for which we have been waiting all of our lives. We've been waiting for this Joker card, and maybe we get it this year with old Dallas Turner.
Ooh, I was thinking about Dallas Turner as well. And the QB here, I think, in Minnesota is the ultimate wild card. So I'm going to stay defense, though, and I'm going to switch it up. And I'm going to say the wild card is the guy that everyone is raving about at camp, and it's Javon Hargrave. I think the spectrum of output hinges greatly on him and his ability to produce at the level that we've seen in camp. The reason that we brought him in, and frankly, it's not just Hargrave isolated in this. I mean, he's had an awesome camp, and that's cool. But this defense can look so different in terms of if he, along with Jonathan Allen, along with Harrison Phillips, how does that work the way that we think it does or will go? And that output hinges greatly. Are Allen and Hargrave showing their age, and they're both off of injury? Phillips, the run stopper that he is, does he continue to offer so little thrust and pop from a rush standpoint? Dallas Turner plays into this, as you mentioned, nicely. I just think that the ability of this group to produce and to be that elite high-end defense with lofty, highly touted, historic names that we're referencing in conjunction with Flores' group, I think it hinges on this front, and I'm going to pick Javon Hargrave as the wild card to maybe be the catalyst for all of it.
As one of my favorites, late Tim Keller would say, that'll preach. That was really, really good. The target at which to shoot in the NFC North is the Motor City Kitties, the Detroit Lions. And from a wild card scenario standpoint, as mentioned with the Bears, the play pass game was and will be vital to new offensive coordinator John Morton's plan with the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff relies on it. And there's gold in them, our hills with the Kitties when this is done right. 30.5% of their offensive plays last season started with play action plays. And that was second most in the NFL. Will center Graham Glasgow and rookie right or Tate Ratliff sell it the right way? That's the key. The selling aspect after the play action. They've been lining up the great Jahmyr Gibbs at receiver a fair amount this training camp. What do they have planned there off big-time play action if they can execute big-time play action? I mean, we've got Jahmyr Gibbs lining up at all wide receiver spots while being a running back. Some play pass from under center. Goff turns his back on the defense. Ross, St. Brown, Laporte, and Williams go streaking down the field. Defenders S their P's copyright sauce, and there's the leakage known as Gibbs hiding and strutting across the middle on a shallow cross with nobody near him. Just because Ben's gone doesn't mean the play action game went with him. This is super vital to the success of the reigning division champions, but will it work as well under the new OC? That's the wild card in Detroit's deck. What about you?
I like that. I'm looking at the other side of the ball, and I think it goes to the secondary. Now, this could be, you could transition it to the defensive front and Aiden Hutchinson, and Marcus Davenport. I mean, we've mentioned those guys. But Terrion Arnold, Brian Branch, Carlton Davis, had 27 penalties in the secondary last year, 16 PI, 4 defensive holds among that 27. DJ Reed, by the way, Carlton Davis goes out east. Enter DJ Reed. He was the most penalized cat on the Jets a year ago, replacing Davis. So cohesion, mitigating penalties, and carrying the onus of a team that was 7th in scoring defense, but really, really bad at times. You could get the Lions through the air when you had an offense similar, like the Vikings, for instance. The offense has to regress with what's new, and you mentioned it, the new OC, and just think about the wild card that whole operation is going to look like. I think specifically a wild card for them that can help kind of stave off the negative effects of an offense that may struggle or look different at times is I think that secondary has to grow up in a hurry. And they got the right names. I didn't mention Kirby Joseph at the safety spot, of course, but that secondary in totality has to be much better, less handsy, less penalty laden, and that'll be a more successful group against the pass in 2025.
Those are the wild cards from the NFC North, or some of the wild cards, the metaphorical jokers in the deck. When 9 to noon continues, we have a wild card / a loving joker in our deck. His name is Alec Lewis. He covers the Vikings for The Athletic and theathletic.com. That's courtesy of Steve's Appliances and stevesappliances.com. Lo and behold, it's 10 o'clock. And Alec joins us around the corner. It's the Friday Football Feast. Copyright KFAN.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there are lots of places that also have it, and they might not be as careful as you are. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock US-based restoration specialist will help solve identity theft issues on your behalf, guaranteed or your money back. Plus, all LifeLock plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package, meaning LifeLock will reimburse you up to the limits of your plan if you lose money due to identity theft. You might not be able to control how others handle your personal information, but you can help protect it with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code iHeart, or go to lifelock.com/iHeart for 40% off. Terms apply.